We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So begins our Declaration of Independence, and with it, the foundation was laid for our great nation. This foundation was built on the blood, sweat, and sacrifice of countless Americans, forged in the fires of freedom and justice through battles physical, mental, and spiritual. Now, this foundation faces adversity from an incredible threat, one that should never have come to pass. It seeks to lure us in with false promise, divide us for easy picking, and ultimately quash the hopes and dreams that America is all about. This threat is ourselves. I'm sure you've noticed by now, partisan politics are at an all-time high. Approval ratings are at extreme lows. Problems permeate most all aspects of our lives, and yet we do nothing. Around the world, innocents are kidnapped and killed. Countries wage war, hunger, poverty, and sickness rages on, yet we do nothing. Blame goes all around. Promises are made, promises are broken. Trust us, not them. Believe us, not them. The very people who should unite us and bind us bring about segregation and isolation, yet we do nothing. I have bore witness to this my entire adult life. Year after year, election cycle after election cycle, conflict after conflict. We try something new with the hope that real change will finally take hold. Change that will breathe life back into the heart and soul of our country. Change that will allow all of us to follow our dreams. Change that will alleviate worry over the hardships our generation and future generations will face. This is the hope that we all have, but it is a hope that slowly fades away, and we've done this to ourselves. So now, America, I would like your help in rekindling that hope. We must not let ourselves fall victim to complacency, nor can we think of each other as enemies, for we are the United States of America, forever strong, forever bound, and we must be forever hopeful. What I propose to you is a vision based on what I consider to be the pinnacle of ideological principle our founding fathers gave to us. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Right there in our very declaration lies the philosophical foundation for America. These are truths so righteous that they cannot help but be self-evident. Every single person here, in this country and around the world, has been endowed with certain unalienable rights intrinsic to our very nature as human beings: life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. When we look at our society, when we travel around the world, and even when we connect with strangers on the internet, our philosophy as Americans must recognize these rights in everyone. And when we talk about our government, we again learn from the Declaration that governments are instituted to secure those rights through the powers given to them by the consent of the governed. Every action of government, every official we bring to office should be using these rights as their contemplative base. From these rights and the notion that our government has been instituted to secure those rights, our Constitution is thus realized. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. To form a more perfect union, this means to transcend the idea of just red or just blue. To establish justice, this means to stop the erosion of our rights and liberties. To provide for the common defense, this means to protect our great nation from threats, both internal and external. To promote the general welfare, this means giving everyone a chance to reach their potential and a chance to follow their dreams. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, this means solidifying our rights and freedoms now and forever. All of this, no matter what your political affiliation, should be true. These words from our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution are what this country is made of. Let these words of our forefathers serve as a guide for the future. This is my vision, my dream, my hope for all of us here today. My name is Steve Gladstone, and I am running for the office of President of the United States of America. You've probably never heard of me. I've held no public office, nor have I ever served in the military. The lack of any government post does make the situation more difficult for me, but anyone crazy enough to run for this position will need to brave far greater challenges that no resume can prepare you for. What I bring to the table is something that none of the other candidates have. Freedom. I have no sponsors, no lobbyists I need to please, no corporate backers, no government backers, and no party to cater to. I am a political UFO, free to actually do good and right for the American people, to faithfully execute the laws of our land and be a leader without strings. The only agenda I have, the only goal I have, really the only purpose I have for doing this is to give Americans what they desire. A president by the people, for the people. In a country where 50 states come together to decide who best represents their interests as a whole, we need someone who is not just capable of listening to every state, but someone who really wants to listen to every state. I care not whether your state is blue or red. The shirt I wear today is purple to symbolize this unified goal of mine. Like most Americans, I cannot and should not be confined to a single stance or ideology. Democrat or Republican, far left or far right, depending on the issue, my position may change. And with the freedom I have, it is quite all right for me to agree with a Democrat one day and a Republican another. It is okay to lean left on certain issues and right on others. When it comes to America, when it comes to helping ourselves, we cannot, absolutely cannot, be divided. Speaker Boehner and Senate Minority Leader Reid should be able to talk openly and work together without fear that their respective parties will crucify them for doing so. Likewise, President Obama should be able to engage many members of the GOP and not worry that Democrats will leave his side simply by association. Because America, and this is key, we must remember that our elected representatives represent us, and they're supposed to be in office for us. Members of our House of Representatives and our Senate are to speak with the voice of their state, not their lobbyists or their party if the party's interests don't line up with their state's needs. And our president must represent all states, all people of America, executing our laws and protecting our rights and freedoms across the planet. Were I to be president, I guarantee your state's voice would not be ignored. And I will listen and speak with all of you. And being a computer programmer with a decent amount of technical awareness, I know how we can make this happen. Technology use in the 21st century will assist us in organization and making our government more efficient, will help our infrastructure, will give our children new opportunities to learn and grow, will give business more economical means for revenue generation, and most importantly, it can bring us closer to a true democracy than we've ever had before. Everyone's voice is needed. Everyone in this country is responsible for our future. We owe it to ourselves and to our posterity to move forward with real, united progress, no matter how difficult the challenges and issues may be. And let's be honest here, we have a lot of issues that need to be addressed. I have a large list of items I want to see tackled, some of which can be done by a president alone, but the vast majority of which require legislative fixes. No matter who gets elected president in 2016, remember, they cannot make law. That is the power of Congress and Congress alone. But at least we can discuss these issues over the next year and change. Everyone can become more aware of the problems and then really question our state representatives and the other candidates over how they plan to address these matters. So, in no particular order, here is a list of many things I want to address during this 2016 election cycle. Intellectual property reform, privacy reforms for the 21st century, education reforms, especially with higher education, addressing our nation's infrastructure for both energy and technology needs, addressing military needs to keep our troops safe and our country secure, tax reforms that can aid both individuals and businesses of all sizes, healthcare reforms to address the ever-increasing cost of healthcare, not just making sure people are covered, but actually taking steps to keep costs down. Tort reform, especially when it comes to ridiculous statutory damages. Addressing issues with trade agreements you're probably not familiar with, but should be, like the Transatlantic Free Trade Area, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. Addressing our energy needs for the next century through increased scientific research. Addressing ever-increasing inefficiency and wastefulness of the federal government. And along those lines, how about getting our federal budget under a bit of control? Creating new opportunities for blue-collar and white-collar jobs, creating new opportunities for competition in our capitalist economy, reintroduce alternative methods of agriculture to compete with the growing GMO phenomenon, federal election reforms, including campaign finance reforms that don't go against the First Amendment, changing our tactics in foreign policy matters, and actually creating a strategy for foreign policy matters that we don't seem to have right now, reinforcing our rights and freedoms granted us in the Declaration and Constitution, including, but not limited to, our freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and freedom from unlawful search and seizure. A crackdown on lobbyists and the revolving door problem with corporations and government officials, and finally, provide unprecedented and unparalleled transparency into what is going on with the federal government, and most importantly, why. That last part is very dear to me and should be to anyone who strives to be president for the people. They say brevity is a great virtue, but sound bites and overgeneralizations in politics are what cause misunderstandings. I will do my best to explain why I feel the way I do about issues, what is good about them, and even what is bad about them. Because any reform of any sort that takes place will create problems for someone somewhere in this country. Anyone who tells you otherwise will be lying to you, and I promise to be as honest as my awareness of any given situation allows me to be. Such honesty is only possible for me as a candidate because, as of right now, I'm the only candidate who is truly free from the bonds of political party, from lobbyists, from anyone who would seek to bend government to their will. And I want to keep it this way for as long as possible, which is why I ask that you do not donate any money to my campaign. Do not contribute to any PAC that might form in my support. Not yet. Remember, many of you will struggle in this economy, and I would rather you use your money to support your rights and freedoms. Use it to cherish and appreciate your life, your love, your happiness, and those you care about. Use your money for the good of those around you, and instead, just keep up with me online. My website is Gladstone2016.com, where you'll be able to see constant updates on my positions, detailed plans on reforms, and links to social media where you can keep up with me and whatever shenanigans I decide to get into as well. That's Gladstone like Happy Rock, because happiness should be solid and everlasting. We have a long road ahead of us, especially for an independent like myself, given the current ballot rules in various states. But no matter how stacked the odds might be, I promise you, I will make the rest of my campaign and the campaigns of all other candidates ones that we, the people, want and deserve. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.